more people coming in. Okay. Welcome everyone. Next we have Aaron Goldberg. He's the lead engineer on the BuzzFeed upcoming news app, and he's here to talk about RecyclerView and CardView. And I just want to have you guys remember to take the survey at the end of the session, and the URL's up here, DevFestMN.survey. And if you tweet, remember to use the hashtag. So, welcome Aaron.
Cool. Hey, I'm Aaron Goldberg. I work for BuzzFeed. This is my first presentation, so if I pass out, like, you can just slap me on the face or pour water on me or something, and I'll wake up. Like he said, I'm the lead engineer for the upcoming news app. I've been working on the core Android app for about a year now. So if you want to follow around with the presentation, here's the GitHub. You can just download that or clone it to your device. Anybody need that, or can I move on? Cool. All right, so like I said, I work for BuzzFeed. Does everybody know what BuzzFeed is? Just to remind you, we're kind of like, we're into cats. Like, we like cat gifts. But we're not just cats. I mean, I like that one over there where it gets attacked by the lizard. It's kind of my favorite. Or the one where, they're all good. They're all my favorite. We're not just cat gifts, though. That's kind of how we got started. But we're moving into investigative journalism and stuff like that, trying to be a real news organization. I personally like cats. I have my cat shirt on, and this is my cat. His name's Zubadoo no Bufu. He's like he's an exotic short hair. He has like a smush face, and I just wanted a black cat with orange eyes and a smush face, so that's what I got. So at BuzzFeed we use RecyclerView and CardView in our main app. Here's like the example of it. So this is our tablet view, and there's like various cells in there. Like we have a splash up here, and then we'll have different types of cells, and then here's another type of like big story cell. So you can do various cards in one RecyclerView. You can also make like your own custom layout adapter, which we are using here. Like BuzzFeed will come, or RecyclerView will come with like some stock layout adapters, but you can do whatever you want basically. I'll talk about that more in a second. So here's the outline of what we're going to go over: RecyclerView, CardView, and then tying it all together. Have some time for questions. All right, so if you've been programming on Android for a while, you're probably familiar with the list view, and like that right there looks like a list view, right? But it's not a list view, it's a recycler view. So what's different? Why would they make something that like looks exactly the same? Well, the coolest part about it is the reusing views when you're scrolling. So if you were using a list view, they would keep appending views to it. So eventually it's going to get so large it's going to crash, you know, especially if there's images in there. But RecyclerView's main purpose is when you scroll views off screen, they're taken out of the view stack by the RecyclerView itself. It's all handled for you, so that when it scrolls back, it'll add it, and you won't have all that stuff in memory. It'll just be what's being viewed in memory. So Google has had the Viewholder pattern for quite a while, but now it actually enforces it via interfaces and stuff where you have to extend them to get that to work. I'm pretty good fan of the Viewholder stuff. It helps me out a lot. I'll talk about it more in a little bit. And then it decouples the layout from the container, where the RecyclerView is responsible for handling, just the recycling, and then now we have something called the layout manager that will, lay out your views and however you want. You can simply switch that out and get a totally different view. So like here we have an example of the two main built-in layout managers that come with Android. So if you see the time up there, it's like 9:31, and then the next one's 9:32. It took me like a minute to make that look like that. This is like really, really, really easy to change. Like I said, you can also make your custom one to like how let's see, on BuzzFeed we have like a cell that takes up 3 cells, and then 2 other ones and 2 cells over there and stuff. That's not something that's built into the staggered grid view. Initially, we had to change that to make that work. So to get started, it's already in our project, but you have to add 2 dependencies here to get RecyclerView and CardView that are already, not sure why they don't just throw them in app compat, but you have to add them separately in your Gradle compiled script. So the 2 bottom ones there are what we're adding to build.gradle. If you want to take a look at that in the project itself too. Cool. So also on here I'm using 21.3 or 21.0.3. That's the latest version, but you can always put like a plus in there, and it will automatically, every time you sync your Gradle files, get the latest version. But we found that's not the greatest thing to do, and you can end up causing bugs by, unexpected results by doing that. So alright, so the first thing we're going to do is make our RecyclerView in the fragment list XML. So it's a pretty standard widget up there. We just declare the path and then give it an ID, and we're just going to make it as big as the screen, basically matching the parent. And then once we have that in our main.java, we get the reference by view, like your standard thing, find view by ID, and we call that list up there, so it's list. And then we have an instance of it, and then we're going to add our layout manager, because right now, because we're only going to use one and not get all fancy. So I did it all on one line, and just to make a staggered grid view, all you have to do is, instantiate it, and this 2 is for the columns that it's going to take out, and then I want it to be vertical and not horizontal. So that's basically it on how to make just to add the RecyclerView to your project. So a CardView. Why is it so sweet? Basically, it's just like a frame layout, which we've used for a long time, but it has these rounded corners that are kind of just make it look more professional, and it also has elevation, which, if you don't know what the elevation is, it's just kind of just adding a shadow where, like, normally you would take your own, tileable shadow and append it under views or something. This is just built in, so you can kind of see the shadow there, and it's rendered differently than the, if you're going to add your own shadow PNG or something, it's more efficient this way than doing that. But you don't have to use a CardView for RecyclerView. It like came out at the same time, and it's kind of like the way that Google is going. They like that look and feel, but you could use, your own relative layout, or like any type of view you could put in there and scroll or do whatever you want to do with it. So this is how you would make a CardView. This is the CardView we're going to make in this project. that's what it looks like. Cool cat. So most of the stuff in the actual card view up there is just like setting some margins and stuff. There's a whole bunch of margins. That's not really important in the standard width and height and all that stuff. But the two that are important are the card corner radius and that elevation. So card corner radius, you can set that to whatever, and basically it's pretty self-explanatory. It's just the radius of the corners. And then the elevation, the standard is pretty much 1 dp. Change it to however you want, and then it'll just appear that that card is kind of floating above the background. So if you are working and you need more time to write all that stuff down. Cool. So we're also using Network Image View because I like Volley a lot. It's really easy to use, so I added that for the image, and then the title is just a regular text view. I'm sure everybody's used that before. All right, so once you have that built, we need a view holder. So this is the built-in Android interface is RecyclerView holder, and I like to add this populate from method to it. I don't know why that's not like part of the view holder interface itself. It's basically just like tells you to extend this, and it doesn't really have anything in it, but it's the place you're supposed to be putting the internal views to the actual cell that this will be holding on to, so you can access it really fast and not have to make calls to get the view every single time you want to do that. So the reason that I add populate view here, or populate from here, is because I think that when you're setting stuff, it should be on the object that you're doing the setting, not on some manager. That's just my opinion. And then the set image URL is a special volley method where you just pass in our link, and it will go and fetch the image and put it in the view, and you don't have to worry about anything. It just handles it all for you. All right, the last big, huge piece of it is the RecyclerView Adapter. So this, we've had adapters in Android a lot. Basically, it takes the data and kind of is the guy who puts it into the view or the list of views. So it's fairly standard. Let's see. So setList is a method that I added so that we could add the data to the thing after we finish our synchronous call or asynchronous call. You could add that stuff right away in the constructor if you already had it before you made the adapter, but if you do it that way, when you first show it, you get like a warning. I don't think it's like bad. It doesn't seem to affect anything if you make an adapter without any data in it, but you get like a warning like the adapter has no data. Because that's obvious because it doesn't, so why would I care about that? So once you do set the list in setList, you need to call this notify data. It's set changed, which is what tells the adapter and the RecyclerView that it has new data and it's ready to be rendered again. Get item count it's pretty standard in all adapters where you just say how much data is in there. We're just doing size on the array that we have. So the two main RecyclerView adapter methods are onCreateViewholder and onBindViewholder. The create method inflates the layout and creates the instance of your view holder. So you can see it taking this card view that we made in the previous step, inflating it, and then I make a new version of the list holder, or the view holder, and then I return that. So it has that internally, and then when that's ready to be viewed, it will call onBindViewholder, which it tells you what the view holder is that we made up there, and then the position. So you go and find that, that position in your array of data, and then you pass that to the populate through, who just puts it in the image view and the list view. So those are like the main pieces basically of the recycler view. And then just to put it all together, right up in the top underneath where we originally instantiated the recycler view, we make the list adapter that we just did. We instantiate that, and then we set it to the recycler view, pretty easy. And then in the callback for my async method, that's where I'm going to call setList and pass in the list that I got back from my client. And in this case, it's getCat gallery. So if you wanted to take it to the next level, there's a couple other things that are part of RecyclerView. Package, item decoration. It's like, we use it in BuzzFeed a little bit. You can use it to add like custom, basically offsets is all we use it for. It says decorations, but it doesn't like add flowers or anything like that. Silly name. Mainly for offsets. And then item animator, you can add like cool animations when items are added or removed. But so back up here, whoops, dang it, wrong direction. Yes. Is this it? Yeah. So we were calling notify data set changed up there, which will tell the recycler view that like everything in there is changed. And the item animator only works if you called notify data set item changed, or item added, or item removed. So I didn't find it that helpful because I don't add items to my data set on like an individual basis. I add the entire data set, and then I pass the entire data set to the recycler view at one point. So I've done animations in other ways where like when the view is seen, I can tell that, and then I'll trigger my animations that way, or I can like expand the cell or something like that, or make it like look like it's being plopped there, or whatever, however you want to animate it. Lots of things. So I went faster than I thought. Any questions?
Starting back with compatibility with the OS version, how was that?
Sure. So let's see. Right, past it. Sorry. Oh yeah. So we're using the one that comes in support, so it should be compatible back to 11. And there's been some problems that we've dealt with at BuzzFeed with the compatibility and everything working and stuff, so it's fairly touchy, but it does actually work once you get it all set up correctly.
Can you say more about the issues?
Just mainly it working with AppCompat v4 and it using methods that they like didn't add until they added a new version of AppCompat v4, which they don't tell you any of that. You know, so you're using an older version of AppCompat, you don't upgrade that, RecyclerView is not going to work. Which, you know, you just have to find that from screwing it up, basically.
Can I ask you some general questions about Lollipop in general?
Sure, Phil.
So, Aaron, tell me, you know, with the recent release of Lollipop, what have you found has been the best part of the upgrade to, and the most challenging part as far as programming?
I think RecyclerView, that's why I picked it, is the best part. I think that having a whole lot of images in a list has been like one of the biggest pains in the butt as an Android programmer. I mean, out-of-memory errors have been the plague. of that for a long time, and we've had to come up with like a whole bunch of creative solutions to get it to work, you know, different image loaders, different caches, all that kind of stuff. And this kind of just, you know, handles it all for you, and it's super nice, and you don't have to deal with any of that stuff. And basically just the main challenges of it is probably the way Google updates things in general, where they give you previews and then the preview is not exactly the same as what's going to be released, so you write it using the preview and then they release the main version, and then you have to, you know, fix a whole bunch of crashes and all that kind of stuff because of that. So, I mean, that's just something you deal with. Is there a hand up over there? Or him? Yeah.
Your BuzzFeed app, I saw it was adaptive. Is it adaptive, or do you have a separate phone app versus tablet app?
It's the same app, so we're using fragments basically to fill in the list on the left on the tablet, and then it's actually the same list. It's just one you can see 2 fragments, the other one you can only see 1. Sure.
You went through some of the code really fast.
Oh, sorry.
Are these slides, are you gonna like post them somewhere?
I hope so. In the actual, in the Git repo, there's a master branch with like, you can fill that in, and then there's another branch of it working with all the things in there, so you could switch over to that branch. I'll have to talk to the DevFest guys about where I can post the slides, so I'd like to do that though.
Okay.
Sure. Sure.
Is there ever a use case where you use RecyclerView, let's say you have a small data set?
Yeah, we still use list view for like, we just like, on our page we have like contributors or like BuzzFeed staff that contributed to the article, and then there's like a list of there, and there's like almost always 1, but sometimes there are 2. I just made a list view there. I didn't use a RecyclerView because it's never scrolled past where you're at. Sure.
So with the RecyclerView and the way like the images kind of scale in and out, so let's say I was on a tablet and I did like a 3-column view, would that scale out to take up the entire space, or would I still be on the hook to use like a fragment to kind of place stuff out?
If you put match parent, it would fill up the entire screen, and then it would scale up to that. It depends on what you put in your layout. If you put like a concrete size for your cell, like the cell would be big, but then your CardView would be that size, and you could center it in there or something. So there's various ways you can handle the different sizes. Sure.
Have you found the cards to be adaptive friendly type of widget?
Yeah, they don't seem any different than using your standard layout. Like the only thing that I find beneficial of using a card is if you want sweet, you know, elevation on it.
Do they kind of auto flow? If you have like 8 cards, do they just flow in that layout? Or
Right, so I don't know if I have it in my BuzzFeed screen thing here, but they kind of like, so like, you see right here, there's like this gap right here.
Yep.
And it kind of just flowed that all out on what best fits on the screen. So like, it will leave like a little gap there, but then this is not weird looking and this is not weird looking, so it like automatically tries to do its best to lay that out for you. Sure.
And then when it recycles like the images off the screen, does it actually clean those out and like fully garbage collect them, or is it just kind of, so it's like a full clean?
Yep.
There's no more memory being used.
Yep.
Okay. Cool.
That's totally the best part.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what.
Phil?
So one of the things that's different about RecyclerView is that you can't set an item click listener like you can on ListView. How would you set a click listener then for your items in RecyclerView?
Oh, I've set it right on the card itself as like a click listener on the card.
So like inside the non-bind?
Yeah, and then I knew the position, and then I set, you know, that to final, and then I passed it into my click listener that way. Cool. Phil.
Yeah. Have you seen any issues where if you don't set the layout manager in the right spot, like it crashes? You know what
Sure.
I'm talking about?
I like to do it right in on create, and then
Do you know if you have to do it there?
I haven't tried it any other places. Why would you want to do that?
I feel like I've noticed when you're using RecyclerView and you don't set that, I think you have to set it in on create is what I'm thinking. I'm not sure.
At least one, because you could like switch it out. Like I've seen like demo apps where you can switch the manager and use like a linear one, and then they're like hit this button and use the other one. But I don't know if they recreate
Yeah, it
the
seems
whole
like
entire
if
instance.
you don't set it in on create, and like
Mhm.
you wait too long, it just like crashes. It says, there's no layout manager, I don't know what to do.
Sounds bad. I'd recommend not doing that. Cool. Kyle.
If you could ask Google to add anything or change anything about any of the stuff you talked about, is there anything that's high on your priority list?
I'd like them to make I wish I didn't have to make my own custom layout manager because it wasn't that easy. And if they had better ones, like our staggered grid view is really similar to Google's, except Google's you can't have a cell that takes up more than one span. So you can set the columns, but you can't set the span, so you can't have double wide cells in there. So we couldn't do that, and it's like so close, but so far, you know. Sweet. Did y'all learn a lot? Cool. I didn't pass out, so that's good. Thanks a lot.
All right.
Looks like we got about a 20-minute break then. Pick back up at 11.